Welcome to the Bodybuilding Banter podcast, your number one source of all things bodybuilding. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes. Now, here's your host, Leroy Rollins.
How's things?
It's not bad. It's what it is at the minute with everything going on. I think you'll probably hear me moan about that a lot today, to be honest. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? Like we none of us saw this coming. Like I think from a coaching perspective, it's hard for us, obviously, like with competitive athletes, and I don't know what the shows are like in Canada at the minute. Have they cancelled them down or?
Yeah, up until May, June for sure.
Is it? Yeah. So I think our summer season has just been totally done. Like there's no shows now till September. So I think they're kind of expecting it to last longer to the point where September is going to be like the first show of the season. Yeah. And by the time like that's over, it'll be the season then. There'll only be like kind of 2 months where they'll be competing. So weird times that I didn't expect it to go like that. But it's just you got to move on and adapt, haven't you? So.
Do what you can, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Start with your personal situation. Like, how have you navigated all this as far as like gym equipment, lifestyle, training, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I kind of like knew like a week before everything was about to like go into lockdown. I was like, okay, I need to get kit now because it was looking online and it was like sold out, and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I honestly just have no idea. So luckily I managed to get the resistance bands with the handles on. So like the ones that you use in a pump up room for like shoulder raises and just like bicep curls. And they actually come in really handy if they've got the door hook on them. Because you can do a lot of stuff. You can do like, you can do a row, you can do a rear delt fly. It's just so much you can do with that band specifically on its own. So I made sure to get one of them. I've got like a hard-wearing resistance band, so like the big one which you can use for squats and stuff. I think it was Eugene Teo, I think it was. He did like it was like a hack squat variation, and I was like, I want to do that.
So
I need to do that.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it was so cool to see it, and just like how outside of the box you can really get with your home training. So I got that band, and luckily I had like a dumbbell up to about 25 kilos. So I've been managing really well with that at the minute. And I think specifically just using bands, it's definitely opened up my eyes to a different form of training. Yes, the reps are a lot higher and it takes a long while to finish like one set. But the feel of failure and the feel from it is just entirely different from doing weights, and it's nice to do it. It was a nice change actually. So that's kind of where I'm at the minute, and right now just trying to find a barbell is the next step for me. I built a squat rack. I saw you built your wooden one, and it looked really cool. And I didn't think that getting a barbell would be this hard. So I built it last weekend, and I've been looking for one ever since, but still no luck. But I'm hoping I've found one, so fingers crossed.
Nice. Yeah, I made mine out of it's a rubber like PVC pipe, so it's a little bit thicker. But then we threaded a steel pipe through it, so just like a very small one. So it's like 15 pounds, but it's not bending at all. So then I can load it. Because finding a barbell, same as you, man, it is impossible. Or it's going to cost me 3 times what it's worth.
Yeah, it's so much money now. I think they're selling over here for like £200 plus for just the barbell. And that's a lot of money, isn't it, for a barbell when you think about it. So, or you wait till the end of April or the end of May, and by that time the gyms might be back open. So it's just, you got to add up what's worth it for you.
For sure. So what was your plan this year? Were you toying around with competing or no?
So for me, luckily, I wasn't competing this year. So I always try and do 2-year gaps between competing. So 2-year off seasons is what I always try and do. So I did 2015, I had 2016, 2017 off. Competed in 2018, then I was going to have 2019, 2020 off and compete next year. So for me, I've not really been effective, and my heart goes out to everyone who was competing this year, because you diet for so long, you get to the point where you're close to your show, I had clients that were like 1 or 2 weeks out, and then to be told they weren't competing, like, it just sucks massively.
Yeah.
And I think if anyone's in that position, like, the best thing you can do is do a photo shoot. It's such a shame to get to that point where you're so lean to then not have pictures of it at least, or to be able to showcase it. Exactly. So it's for me, I was lucky because I wasn't competing, so it's just business as usual for me at the minute. But I'm now almost quite skeptical about next season, is because there's so many people that now aren't competing this year.
Yeah.
I can guarantee next year's competition is just going to be up there and absolutely sky high. So certainly the plan didn't go to how I wanted it to.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this would be good to touch on. So if you're in an off season this year, because I know a lot of people now are, or they're transitioning out of prep to be in an off season, how are you kind of approaching things with now different equipment? Maybe your diet's a little bit different now. Like, how are you kind of navigating that moving forward?
So before like the lockdown started for us, or semi-lockdown started, I was at a point where I was kind of at my peak of where my off-season tends to sit. So I was kind of getting close to mini-cut territory. So I've not really had one for about a year and a half now. So it's getting to the point where I could afford to have a bit of a time for a mini cut. So I've actually transitioned into a non-aggressive style diet. So usually a mini cut, it's a lot quicker, it's very aggressive, you're in, you're out. Whereas this is a little bit less. So just a traditional diet over the next 8 weeks really is what we're really looking for. And that's kind of what I've done, because I kind of get to my off-season levels where it's too high, and I don't like how my skin is, I don't like how I feel sluggish. So that's usually the signs where it's like, yeah, Jack, let's back off now, you're getting too fat.
Yeah.
So that's personally what I'm doing. And with regards to like equipment and obviously retaining muscle, I do feel like for 8 weeks, with the short amount of time it is, with the stuff I've got, it shouldn't be a problem, because obviously everything at the minute is now gone from like where I might leave a couple reps in reserve to now failure, because this is such a new stimulus. My body's not going to be used to this. So effectively I'm kind of hoping and thinking really it shouldn't really change too much. And because nutrition is now so much easier to control, restaurants aren't open, bars aren't open, cafes aren't open, like there's no chance to mess your diet up. So for some people that have got good access to equipment, I think now is a perfect time to diet if you were thinking about it.
Right.
And this is obviously going to apply to everyone in their different situation. Some people might be better off just going to a maintenance. Like if I had rubbish equipment and I was in a deep off season, I'd probably drop my calories to maintenance and just kind of do what I could in terms of training. Because there's no point trying to gain weight, I don't feel, with suboptimal equipment. I just don't think you'd see the results you'd want to see, and you'd probably put a bit more fat on than you ideally want. So I think it's all going to depend on the equipment you have, and I guess what current situation you're in with before everything started. So
yeah, that's what you just said there about going into almost like a maintenance, because I was like 8 weeks out, and then we had to kibosh it, and I've maintained condition now, just slowly creeping calories up. Like I'm already up to 3,000, and I've only gained a pound. So things are going good, but everybody's like, "Oh, are you bulking now?" And I'm like, "There's no point. There's no point."
No, there's no point.
I was peak off season 192-ish last time, so about 30 pounds higher than I am right now. And for me to go to 192 again, only to compete again next year, like that's just me getting fat for no reason.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I can get up to maybe, like, I think my top end that I'll get up to is like 175, like another 10 pounds on this frame will be just like a comfortable weight that I won't have to think about too much. But to go higher than that, it's just me being lazy and making prep harder next time.
For sure, and I think with yourself, like being 8 weeks out, you're obviously very close to being stage lean, and you might as well just take like a mini way, and often in that recovery phase is a period of maintenance. So you're doing the exact right thing of doing that maintenance period now, and then hopefully when you've finished your maintenance, everything will be open again and you can go back to normal and maybe bump calories up again if the time comes. But yeah, I think it really is going to depend on the situation. I think you've definitely done the right thing. That's what I would have done if I was in a prep, for sure. And you get to enjoy being leaner for a little while as well.
Yeah, I think just anybody that's in a situation where equipment is kind of, like you said, suboptimal, like approaching an off season is maybe not the best of ideas, and I think that's like something people need to think about moving forward, because we don't have the stimulus and that kind of stuff, and I just don't think it would be the best bet. Like having a more controlled approach where you have a little bit more flexibility, but not to the point where you're just like eating.
Yeah. How are you finding it? Like, kind of now you're not competing with food and stuff. Are you feeling good? Like, you struggling with cravings and everything? Or
I was like 8 weeks out, about 10 to 15 pounds off, probably closer to 10 pounds off stage weight, and it was starting to creep where you start to get those prep feels. You're getting a little bit more lethargic. You're starting to look at food, and you're like, ooh, that'd be pretty good. But once I was just kind of tapering things back in, like I had I'm almost like I'm tracking still, but instead of having the same thing over and over and over, like instead of rice, I'll have a bagel. Instead of potatoes, I might have like fries, but just track it accordingly. So I'm like curbing those cravings, but not going crazy, and just kind of dabbling stuff in, but still making sure I'm eating how I would normally eat. And just being smart about it, right?
Sounds like the best approach.
So how have you handled with clients? Let's talk about that a little bit, because I'm sure for you it was very much a roller coaster, as it was for me.
Yeah. So like the week we knew when things were when gyms were likely going to shut, I basically just spent that whole week and weekend just changing everyone's programs over. And I think that was the hardest part, was you have like X amount of clients, you've got to change all their programs all in one weekend in 1 week. So it's just a crazy week with designing home workouts, making sure their equipment's suited to their new plan, because every client's going to have such a different amount of equipment. Like some have got a full home gym setup, some have only got one band, others have got like a dumbbell and a band. So you want to make it obviously very tailored to them, and that's why it took a long time, but I'm very glad I've done it, because they're all obviously now progressing and they're enjoying it as well. And I think that's been one of the general things I've heard from a lot of people, is I think the enjoyment of the home workouts. Some people have got so used to being in the gym and only knowing barbells, dumbbells, machines, that we forget all about this other stuff like body weight exercises. Like, I think that's going to be one of the things. Like, so many people are going to come out of this quarantine amazing at pull-ups, amazing at dips, and they can now actually work them into their program because they've just avoided them before. Because it's super easy just to jump on a tricep pushdown and say, yeah, that's my triceps done. No one wants to put a belt on and a disc in between and do some dips with it. But now we've got to. So it's interesting to see like how that enjoyment's coming to life, and how we're obviously going to get a lot more stronger in different things going forwards as well, which is very cool. But yeah, they're doing really well. They've adapted nicely. And yeah, it's a new challenge for us both, isn't it? Like, I was never expecting to design home workouts this year.
I think it just pushed creativity too, right? Like, I mean, even for my own workouts, like on a push day, I'll bang out like 100 or 200 push-ups just in multiple sets to pre-exhaust my chest. Then when I grab, the 100-pound bar that I have, it's heavy, right? It's getting creative with things and changing it up, right? And that's the same with other clients. Is they might be used to doing a deadlift first in their workout, but we're doing pre-exhaust with bridges and lunges and stuff. Their legs are toast, and then when they do like a banded good morning, their hamstrings are screaming. Like, it's different, right? And like you said, I don't think we expected to have to do this ever, but now that we've had to, I think a lot of people are finding it's being effective, right? And as long as you put effort into it, it'll still get you results.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. That's the thing. I think as long as you're putting the effort in and not half-assing it, the results they'll be good, and they'll be just the same as you were in the gym. But it's when you do your home workout in your jeans and your t-shirt, and you do a couple sets on like a banded chest press, and you're probably not going to get much out of it. So getting the same routine is the biggest thing I've tried to tell my clients. So take your pre-workouts, eat the same foods, get in the same clothes, put the same music on, do it in a room where you're going to get motivated instead of doing it in your jeans in the living room is not an ideal thing to do.
Doing your frying pan curls and shit, right?
Frying pan curls.
So, for yourself now, has your day-to-day schedule changed a whole lot?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a lot less busier, for sure. Like obviously many coaches, some clients have obviously lost jobs, so naturally some clients have left, which obviously leaves us open to do more things. So I've actually got a lot more time to help design some more content. So what I'm trying to focus on now is really building some things for when everything gets back to normal again. So I'm looking to build like a contest prep video step-by-step series.
Nice.
I did it on IGTV last year, and I sort of released like different things on like obviously peak week, setting up your nutrition, setting up your training, but I want this to be like in a downloadable video series, so it will all be free. It will be like either a YouTube series or like an email series type thing, but that's kind of what I want to work on over the next couple of months. And get that out there. And we're going for a bit of a rebrand at the minute with the Team JG Fit brand. So whereas I've always been sort of Jack Gadd Fitness, I want it now to be Team JG Fit. So eventually in time, I kind of want it to be a team of athletes and not just centered around my name. So we're going for a bit of a rebrand. We're filming some new videos with like in the gym with regards to just getting some more content out there when they obviously reopen. But yeah, it's exciting times. I've kind of used this time where I'm a little bit less busy to just be proactive, and I think that's the main thing that's keeping me sane at the minute. Is could quite easily bury my head in the sand and not do anything over the next few months where I'm not as busy, but you just know you're not going to come out of it in the best place you could be, and it's probably going to mentally hurt you as well.
That's so I've been doing these podcasts every single day on this quarantine thing. So that's a common trend I've seen with all of the guys in a position that you and I are in, with whether it's coaches or competitors or whatever, is that we're trying to be really productive. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to do a podcast every single day, and these little like quarantine convo videos, or just talk about random subjects that people can submit, just to continue to put out content and that kind of stuff. Because I think in our line of work, if we just kind of backed off and just, like you said, put our head in the sand and really weren't as maybe public as we normally would be, then we'll probably get left in the dust, right? Whereas if we constantly put stuff out, and then when the gyms reopen, when show dates come up, then your name is kind of, it's been in people's faces for the last few months, right? So that's what I'm doing as well.
And that's it. I think more people are at home, more people are bored, they're not doing anything. So it's a great time if you're a coach to be very proactive in producing content, because people are going to be viewing your stuff a lot more. They're going to be at home looking at your stories, your posts. They're going to just be a lot more interactive with you. Even if they're just watching, it means that maybe in a couple months' time, when they're ready, you might be the first person they go to. So definitely a time just to remain proactive as much as possible, even if times are a bit harder. So you just got to take it as it is. This is like, for us, the worst time of our generation that we've had to be in. Like, I would have never wanted to be sort of in World War II or World War One. Like, this is easy. We're staying at home. I'm not doing anything. Like, this is easy. Like, so we just got to think, I guess, ourselves a little bit lucky with the situation we're in, and just glass half full instead of glass half empty, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your roster of people? Is it mostly competitors, or do you have some Gen Pop as well?
So it is actually majority Gen Pop. I think that's a lot of the time with obviously contest prep coaches. You tend to find out that a lot of their athletes are Gen Pop. They're just more interested in bodybuilding and building a physique. I'd say it's like sort of a 30-70 split, with 30% prep athletes and then 70% mainly Gen Pop, who just have an extreme interest in bodybuilding. They might not be interested in competing, but they want to look as good as those guys do. They want to do the same thing they do, but just to a less mundane routine. So still enjoy a bit of a social life, and not be so on it with that goal of maybe getting a pro card or winning a British champion or like a qualifying championship final, whatever it is. So yeah, it's definitely a mix, which is good for me, because I think if I was just all in contest prep, I'd then lose sight of that general fitness, which I definitely enjoy as well. So it's a nice mix. It's a real nice mix, and hopefully, obviously, at some point that contest prep bit does pick up. Obviously, this year with everything that's happened with shows cancelling, it's naturally gone down a little bit, but it will pick up again later this year and towards the end again. So it's just that's what happens, and hopefully we can get people into off seasons now, ready for 2021. There's a lot of people that I'm working with that now are sort of saying, okay, well, I'm not going to compete this year. We're now going to work towards next year. So for me as a coach, it gives me a lot more time to work with these athletes to get them in the right place for where they need to be, which I think a lot of people tend to forget. If they're competing, they might pick their coach in, say, February or March to compete in the July, when if you can work with your coach longer, there is definitely going to be the chance you'll get a better place in. Your coach is going to know you better. They're going to know how you respond to training. They're going to know how you tick, if you can have a joke with them at certain times when they're angry or not. So it just makes that relationship so much better for when prep begins, if you know your coach and you know how they work already.
Yeah, 100%. That's something, like I had 8 athletes that were 4 weeks out, all doing the same show, and at 4 weeks out, it was kiboshed. So, of course, the initial reaction is like, oh, this sucks. Oh, like, we put all this work in, all this stuff. And I was like, look, we can really bring you even better. You know, they rescheduled it to September. So that basically added another 5 or 6 months, right? So we can come out of the diet a little bit. We can taper calories up, pull back cardio a little bit, all that fun stuff, let you kind of feel better again. But then, and then just become better, right? Like we can now know, like you said, how you respond to foods, how you diet, how much cardio you need to do, all these things. Now we have all that data. Whereas before, because they were all first timers, it's a lot of trial and error, right? And people forget that it's as much them learning as it is for us if it's a first time competitor, right? As a coach, we're just trying to figure things out too, because everybody's different. But now for them going into their second prep, but still their first show, it can be way more effective.
Yeah, 100%. I agree like thoroughly with that, in terms of having more time just makes a prep so much more fun and easier, especially if you're a first time athlete. Like, just to take some examples, like last year I had a couple athletes who sort of competed in the May and the June. It was their first ever time on stage. They'd done well, they got good results. But that time between the June and the October, where the finals was then made them even better on stage with how they looked. They enjoyed that second part of the prep a lot more because they knew what was to come and they knew how they needed to get there. So it's definitely a big learning curve. So I think if you were competing and you still are thinking about doing it this year, later, definitely just use this time to, like you say, maintain, come back up, taper cardio, taper food up, and you'll be in a position where you're still leaner than you started your prep at. You can maintain that through and then start the diet again in a much, much better position. And it would be more fun. It would 100% be more fun. Like, that reverse stage is the best part. Like, honestly, I love it because you get amazing pumps. You're not flat. You start eating more again. You start feeling human. It's an amazing stage. And if you can feel that midway through a season, then unreal.
Then you're good to go. So looking at next year, what's your plan of action?
So I will probably off season now up until likely February time next year, and then I'll likely go for a later show in the year. So I'll probably go for like an August or a September show, and sort of compete then, have a month and a half max between then and the finals. So the finals is the goal. Like, I want to win a British championship.
Nice.
It's going to be super hard because obviously now a lot more people will probably competing next year. I'm probably going to be a middleweight instead of a lightweight, so that again makes it even harder. So yeah, like definitely the pressure is on for sure. So it's just all about doing as best as I can now in this off season, ready for when next year comes. And this will probably be like one of my bigger competing years. So I'm going to try and compete as much as possible in as many shows.
Nice.
But yeah, the goal last time was just to place in a top 3, but the goal this time will be 100% to win in a certain federation. So I did win the MPA British finals when I competed last time, but I want to win the UK DFBA because it gives us the chance to go to the Worlds, and that's something which I've got my sights set on for sure. I want to be at a Worlds final just to be at the atmosphere and really see everyone as well, and just be in that kind of bodybuilding atmosphere I've wanted to be in for a while now. So that's definitely the long-term goal. Nice. Whether it happens or not, we'll see, but you can only have a goal to work towards.
That was my goal this year. I was ready to do everything I could to try to get to Worlds at the end of the year, and it wasn't my time, right? So that's the tough pill to swallow. But yeah, next year we'll go for it again.
The thing. Next year maybe we might see each other.
So quickly, you mentioned lightweight to middleweight. You're pretty comfortable in saying that you're probably a class up?
It's so hard to say. Like, when I sort of look at my photos from last year, when I sort of compare when I qualified to when I was at the final, I'm a lot fuller, like, when I qualified, and I would definitely say I probably looked more like a bodybuilder at the qualifier, but I went for the finals in a lighter class because I just knew that I was probably going to get obliterated in the middles, because the standard was just unreal. There was like people from Germany, Austria who became pros that year, so I just knew that my chances would be better as a lightweight. So I'm glad I did it. I definitely wasn't as full as I could be for the finals because I had to be careful with my weight. Yeah. But I think definitely next time, I don't think I'm going to be that weight. I'd be very surprised if I was. So yeah, it's just all about dieting as much as I can to get as lean as I can for the certain body parts I need to be in. But yeah, we'll just take it as it is. If I land in a lightweight, I land in a lightweight. But I think probably not this time. I don't think I'm going to get third time lucky.
Right on. All right, man. Any closing tips you can give to people right now, maybe struggling with their training, or not knowing the path they should take right now? If we'll talk specifically to bodybuilding because that's kind of our niche. But what do you tell people moving forward if they're feeling a little lost?
Yeah, I think one of the things I've just been repeating to clients a lot this week is just being able to control what is controllable in front of you. If you've not got the weights you want at home, okay, that's fine. This is now time to really nail your nutrition and nail your sleep and your stress, and maybe work on that project you've been wanting to work on for a while. So use the kind of times where you can't do something, and training's going to be the majority reason for why people will probably feel down. People can't get in the gym like they normally would. They've not got the right equipment. So this is now a time to really focus on nutrition and focus on those other things, which is a big player in your physique and how it looks. And controlling what you can control is the only thing you can do, because if you're getting upset about things which you can control, you're just upsetting yourself for no reason. And you're just only going to put yourself in a place where you're mentally not in the right position. So just focus on what is possible for you. Set mini goals each week, even if it's something so stupid like to do X amount of press ups or X amount of pull ups, or to even beat your last workouts from last week for your home workouts. And yeah, I think just having mini targets just to achieve each time, so you're almost feeling like you've succeeded, because where we're now not getting a PB each week or a new deadlift PB, that needs to be replaced with something else. So think of something outside the box which you can progress yourself, whether it's in your own life, your career, or at home with nutrition. And that will have something which you can just tick off, because there's nothing more satisfying like putting a tick in a book, or just like saying, I did that. So have like mini goals and just tick them off each week, and that's all you can do.
Nice. Any other lifestyle tips you have? I know for me, I've had more time to stretch, so I've been doing that a lot lately. Any other little things that you've been doing, like going for walks, meditation, reading, anything else?
I'm definitely not a meditator or a stretcher. I'm so guilty of that. It's so bad. I don't stretch and I don't meditate. But in terms of lifestyle stuff, I think just getting out a lot more. Like, we've now got more time at home where potentially we wouldn't have had that time before. So getting out for walks, listening to more. So podcast, the Leroy Rollins one. And just really just consuming. I think that's going to be good for your mind at the minute. It's just
consuming podcast content which you enjoy, going out for walks, and just kind of giving yourself that break from being at home, because where people now haven't been at home for such a long time to now having to work from home, that mindset's going to be super different to what it was before. So you need to break that routine with things you enjoy. So just do what you enjoy, whack a podcast on, go for a walk. And that's certainly, for me, what I feel is my lifestyle de-stress. That's my meditation.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I agree. Like, I think like podcasts for sure. I would agree with you. They're super helpful, and like you can learn, you can take your mind off the world, you can use it as like a meditation tool. Like podcasts, I think, are huge because they're passive too, right? Like, put your headphones in when you're prepping your food, when you're walking the dog. Like, you can really, tick a lot of boxes in one stop shop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Right on, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, making time out of your day to do this. Plug the Instagram, man. Where can people find you? Where can they hit you up?
So Instagram is just Jack Gadd Fitness, and then YouTube is the same, Jack Gadd Fitness as well. So that's something I'm trying to post a little bit more with at the minute. Got the camera and the tripod set up. Just editing everything is the bane of my life currently. So trying to just be more consistent on YouTube when I can. Yeah. But yeah, Instagram and YouTube is my main ones at the minute.
Awesome. And you have coaching spots available if anybody wants to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I've certainly got some coaching spots available at the minute, and that'll just be in my link tree in my bio, so you can just go and apply, and then we'll jump on a consult call and chat about any goals that you're looking to work towards, home gym equipment or not. Everything can be worked around at the minute.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks again. I appreciate you coming on. If you guys enjoyed the episode, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, give this man a follow, give him a subscribe on that YouTube channel because he's going to be pumping stuff out. And, hey, you have a great day, buddy.
And you too, mate. Cheers.
Bye.